Welcome to Soundbreaker. In today's episode, we're talking to Peter James, who is the president and chief executive officer of Manic Records. Peter, thank you for joining us today. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with you, would you please introduce yourself and before we dive into it?
Sure, absolutely, Bob. Thank you again for having me. I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
so I am the owner, operator, founder of Manic Records, founded in 2014, and we are a pop punk label based in the New York, right outside of New York City. So
It's funny. Pop punk label. I was in the music business. So I'm still in the music business, but I was in the record label business. And I know New York, back in the day, known for all the indie labels there and maybe some rock. But such a label, I would imagine it to be either in California, Minneapolis, somewhere not in New York, in the East Coast, especially a punk rock label. But hey, times changed. So let's go back to your I don't want to say to your roots, but let's go back to your teenage. What influenced you to be in the music business and say, "Hey, this is the path I want"?
So I've been in bands. God, I've been in bands my entire life. I've been down the road of like touring in like vans and trailers, and sleeping on couches and all that sort of thing. And I've been signed to indie labels. I've gone down the major label road. I've gotten burned by both, which is why this exists and this particular model exists the way it does. So it's just from past experiences and not trying to perpetuate what's been going on, for the last 50 years.
Interesting. So you've been in bands. You've always been influenced. So this is your life. This is what I want to do in life. I know what I want. Where did cable vision came to it?
It
You.
paid the bills. Quite honestly, like out of college, it paid the bills. I had a very traditional upbringing where it's like, okay, you graduate high school, you go to college. It's not an option. You're gonna go. Pick one.
Mhm.
Anyone, I don't care, you're going. So it was one of those deals, and I got my degree in marketing and advertising, and just kind of fell into it because I'm still playing in bands, but bands don't pay the rent, bands don't pay the bills, and had to get a job. So that's kind of where I ended up, but learned a lot in that particular experience because I learned how teams work and how corporate America works and how to interact with your teams. And I learned a lot from my old boss. I still actually had lunch with her last week, as a matter of fact. I'm still very, very close with her. And I still credit her to a lot of my managerial style and how I approach things and how I, deal with my team and different mentalities and even the bands too, because everybody's got a different personality. So
Mm.
it's managing to that particular personality, not hoping they adapt to yours. So that type of style I really picked up from her. So
One of the most important criteria of an artist that a lot of artists, I should say, lack, whether before or now, is a contractual knowledge and advertising and marketing and advertising and marketing, anything to do with promotion and marketing. These are the main things that every artist should know about because, as a lot of artists, they have the talent, they have the love, the passion, and all of that, but they forget about understand the business side,
right,
not the whole thing, just understand the contractual end of it. There's publishing involved, there's royalties involved, there's many things involved. You signed the wrong agreement, you lost what you wrote and produced, and could
right,
be for years to come, it could be for whatever just you currently did or you own.
right.
You just hand your right to that. And also marketing and advertising, and it's very important, or promotion and marketing, because every artist should have at least a basic knowledge of promotion and marketing when it comes to music. It's not about just counting on a distributor. It's like, all right, here we go, here's my product, whether you're using a DIY service or using another, a label services company and all of that. It's not about just putting it out there. Yes, you can put it out there. Absolutely. It will generate something eventually. The algorithm will catch up to it. But what do you need to know? You need to understand, like, how can I promote it? Take the link. What should I do with it? Put it on social media. What should I do? Yes, use your stage, your stage social media presence. Use everything you have to get followers, to create more fans, and the fan engagement and all of that.
Yep.
So I guess what you have being an artist and you went to school for that and you actually have the experience working in a company that focuses on entertainment, which is Cable Vision. It's all about entertainment anyhow, whether it's music, movies, and all of that.
Right.
So You took all that knowledge. How long you stayed at Cablevision?
I was there for almost 9 years. So I was there for quite some time. And then things just started evolving and changing, landscape changes. My boss moved on to a different position. When new people come in, it's who you work with. The job doesn't change, but it's all about who you work with and who you work for. And
Mhm.
corporate America, that's just the way it is. And saw the writing on the walls and had to get out. And I was kind of transitioning anyway, to be honest with you, because I had started the label as I was still at Cablevision. Because
So what made you start the label? What was the goal behind it? Like, okay, I'm gonna. There's so many labels. Like, oh, just another label. What was the goal behind it, and what was the vision? And it's like, okay, the ultimate goal. You know.
So really, the ultimate goal very early on was to kind of be a vanity label. It was basically like, okay, we've been there, we've done that, we've just wrapped up, like, going down the major label road. We turned that deal down, and as a band, we were very close with, and we still are, with Vans Warped Tour with Kevin Lyman. We had done 5 years on the Warped Tour, and that was like in 2009. We had done the longest run we had, which was about over a month. And like, look, let's do the vanity label. Let's put this out under ourselves. We have the connections. We have what we need. We don't need a label. We can just do this ourselves. So that's really where it started initially. As a vanity label, it was more of a, okay, let's just do this and see what kind of reaction we get. Well, when we're on the tour, people were really gravitating to the logo, really gravitating to the music. So like, okay, well, let's make this thing legit. We got back and let's sign some bands and let's make this thing more than just about us, and turn this into something, because there's some kind of value here. So
Interesting, interesting. And is the label focused on your product or focused on a lot of people that you came across and you want to bring in and make part of this because you've seen the downfall of being an independent artist, whether being taken advantage of or just making the wrong choices and the wrong mistakes or signing up with the wrong people. So you kind of accumulated all of this.
right.
And so the label, is it focused in artist development in the punk rock genre?
So it started out that way, and it still does do development for sure. It's not about me, definitely not. Again, it started out as a vanity, but it soon quickly went beyond that. As we started signing talent, obviously started small, started local, in our backyard, and then have now progressed, and we're
Mhm.
global. We have artists signed all over the world,
Wow.
and it's all about development, but also about legacy too. We have something very unique, and now it's proven. Our deal definitely gravitates towards the legacy artists, the ones that have been down the major label road. They've seen that nonsense. No, they don't want to deal with the BS, to be quite frank, anymore. And they see the value with what we bring to the table and it being so unique in
Hmm.
terms of the value proposition and the offering. We absolutely have it. Working with Todd Morris from The Offspring, that was one of the first big signings that we had, and we met and saw eye to eye, and he loved what we have to offer and how we do business. And that was the first real validation that we had. Like, okay, we have something that is more than just developing artists.
Got it.
And then that led to, working with Ryan Cabrera. And a lot of people don't see the synergy, but he's an old pop punk kid at heart and he gets it. And there's a lot more to him than just kind of face value. And he's just been an amazing human being to work with. He's one of the nicest people ever. And that's the other thing.
Amazing.
We work with people we like, because at the end of the day, it's a long-term relationship. Any kind of contract's a long-term relationship. So I always tell the bands, if I can't have a drink with you and hang out with you, I don't want to work with you. It's one of
Interesting.
those concepts. Yeah,
I like the approach. I like the approach. Yes.
there's bands that I've walked away from in the past because either just didn't fit personality wise, or just a little bit of ego, or just expecting the world, and they really have to understand what we do, and more importantly how we differ. And if they can't wrap their head around it, that's fine. There's a million other labels out there that are doing the traditional method. They'll probably have a better luck with them as opposed to working with us and trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
So, what are you offering beside the standard things that a lot of labels offer? You offer something that with the human touch, the interaction, the care, that kind of a call, get together, talk about your album, your future projects. How can we enhance
The
that
transparency.
relationship thing that's kind of gone missing? It's all about emailing now. And
Right. Right.
yes. Yeah.
Our entire process is different, Bob. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, again, you've been in the space and you're still in the space.
Yes. Yeah.
From what bands have told me, and again, I've experienced it myself, usually you'll sit down with a band, whatever band it is, you'll have a meeting, A&R rep will meet. And then after the initial conversation, if it goes well, you're presented a deal memo. And it's like, okay, have your attorney contact our attorney, and that's it. And it's such a weird disconnect. And it was funny because when we started talking to a lot of our legacies, they were kind of almost anticipating that. And I'm like, guys, we don't do it that way. If we have multiple conversations to kind of explain everything, making sure you guys have a full understanding of how we operate, and more importantly, how we differ than everybody else.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, if and when you're presented a deal memo, that's the last part of this. And all it is just a written version of everything we've talked about. There's no I gotcha moment. So it's a very, very different way we approach the business. It's not cookie cutter. It's not a churn and burn. It's not a, let's get this signed, let this get this going. No, it is very much a consultative thing. And I think I learned that from my years, honestly, at Cablevision, kind of going back to that, Bob. So it's a consultative approach. I mean, it's building relationships, it's building rapport, it's building trust and transparency. Correct. And all those are dirty words in the music business. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Transparency and communication don't exist in the business, and you know that.
Who does the distribution for you guys? Are you direct, or you work with aggregators or other labels?
We are with, actually it's direct. So we're with Monarch, which used to be, it actually got bought out by Hasbro. So before Monarch, it was called, E1. It was E1 distribution. And it got
E1, is that Entertainment One?
Yep.
Oh,
and it was
up
bought
in
out.
Canada. Okay.
Yeah, well, it was bought out and then it rebranded to Monarch Music Group. So now we're with Monarch.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then on the physical side, we're with Alliance Entertainment.
So, it's funny you mentioned physical. Is it more of a novelty, or you really move some numbers on CDs, on vinyl?
We do overseas. Overseas, we tend to do much, much better than domestically.
CDs or vinyl, or both? Really? Interesting. Wow. I know Alliance, they one of the OGs when it comes to physical, and one of the OG who survived, actually, it's still around. Yes, absolutely. And MVD, I think, still does it. Yes. They both work together. Yes.
Yep.
MVD and yes, Alliance.
We have a good relationship with both, and they're super supportive. But yeah, I mean, for us, really, obviously, it's on the digital side domestically, but they still offer quite a bit in terms of indie retailers as well, and coalitions and stuff like that. So it absolutely makes sense on the physical side still too.
Yes, absolutely. Amazing. Well, I mean, being in the music business, well, first of all, we need to congratulate you. That's the anniversary of, Manic Records. When is it? Is it, it's 10-year anniversary this year, correct?
10-year. We're celebrating our 10 years this year, all throughout the year. We just had a festival last week. So, by the time this comes out, it's like, mid-September. It was when we had it, and it was great. A lot of the bands came in. It was in New York, and we had a great time. It was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but I'm glad it's over. But, it was a lot of fun.
Amazing. Well, congrats to that. Absolutely. So you've been in it for 10 years. You've seen some of the transitions. I mean, you're probably kind of, when you started, I would say you weren't part of that physical to digital. You were already in the digital when you started. And what's your thoughts on the current music status, or music industry status right now? The flux of technology that coming in, that changing everything, changing the whole criteria of the music business. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who getting involved in the music business, not necessarily music biz people, more of like an entrepreneur in the tech side of the business. Right. They see new opportunities in the music business, and they're getting involved by having new startups. And there's so many changes. And I think it's the beginning of a lot of things, and the end of a lot of things. Beginning and end for a lot of things, and the beginning of new things. Yep. So what's your opinion, outlook, and your
So I'm an old school. I've been in bands, like I said, for a very long time. I love the physical. I still do, because for me, I love the tangible. Be able to look at liner notes. I'm a nerd like that. See where it was recorded, where it was produced, who worked on what, where, how, all that stuff for me. So, but I get it. Everybody's ingesting music much, much differently, especially the younger generation too. It's all about streaming. And honestly, we've had to pivot, as a lot of other labels have had to pivot, and it's not about streaming. Unfortunately, the music now is just the vehicle to other streams, other other revenue streams,
Yes.
whether it's sync placement, whether it's merchandising, whether it's ad placement, stuff like that. That's really where, unfortunately, things have pivoted towards, because unless you're like a Taylor Swift or something like that, or a massive artist, you're really not seeing that reap a benefit from 3/100ths of a penny of a stream. Let's be real. And then how do
Yes.
you begin to split that with the artist or with the label? How
Hmm.
do you how do you survive on that? How do you pay your bills on that?
So pretty interesting what you said, that a lot the streaming business is no longer the main income for
Not for
a lot of
us.
record labels, producers, or artists. It's the vehicle to get you perform, to get you shows, concerts,
Mhm.
sponsorships,
Yeah.
clothing line, whatever you're involved in. Interesting, very interesting. What do you think of the future of that?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be sustainable for long term. I feel like we as a society tend to kind of go to the next shiny toy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in
Mm-hmm.
the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to pivot again. I mean, much like vinyl came back and that's got a huge resurgence, I think it's going to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
Do I necessarily know what it is? No, I really couldn't tell you. The one interesting thing I will tell you, though, which kind of blew my mind, I was at a couple of trade shows and events, and people were coming up to our merch booth buying CDs, and I was like, "What is going on?" By like the 20th kid coming up to us, I was like, "What's happening?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we just got our car and we don't have Bluetooth, so we're all buying CDs again."
Yeah, but the car doesn't have a CD player, and you cannot buy a CD player anywhere else. And you need a CD
Wild,
player. You need other things, for other
right?
components for it to work. You need, beside the speakers, you
Right.
need a lot of
Right.
things. Yes,
Right. So it was kind of
yes,
wild to see that. It really kind of took me back a bit, but it was fun.
yes. Interesting, really interesting. Yes, there's a lot of changes, and you notice also there's a flux of fan artist engagement platforms,
Yes.
and I see a lot of the industry, kind of a lot of the new entrepreneurs in the music tech side that I interview a lot of them, and all they talk about is that new focus in the music business and the music industry on artist engagement, fans. And to me, it's like how celebrities used to be, TV and movies and shows, and TV and the big screen and the theater. And from there, social media came in, and the fans became the creators, and the creators became the stars.
Right.
So a lot of these influencers, they're the new stars, actually.
Right.
So are we going to see a new thing alter in the music business? A lot of the fans, they're going to be the creators themselves and follow a new trend, a new way of streaming, a new way of watching. Like I would say, follow the path of the gaming business, because that's what the technology pivoting towards.
It could. It absolutely could. I mean, right now there's just so much going on. It just depends on where the industry heads and honestly what the new toy is going to be. Because, like I said earlier, Spotify can't keep doing the big machine for too much longer.
No,
Eventually,
there's too many Spotify's, too many platforms.
well, it's the same thing that happened with radio. I mean, you walk into any radio station, everybody thinks it's 1985. It's like,
Yes.
it's all pay to play. It's all
Yeah.
clear channel nonsense.
No,
Guys,
yes.
you don't have the subscriber count you used to. You
No,
can't charge
no,
150 grand for a DMA anymore. It's
no.
not, this isn't like the 90s.
Yeah.
I feel like Spotify's kind of done the same deal with like majors, and it's only a matter of time that that kind of goes to the wayside too.
Wow.
I think
Interesting.
eventually.
I mean, there's how many DSPs? About 400, 300, 400.
Globally, yeah, at least that.
Yeah, and the good ones, the legit ones, probably half of that. That you'll make some money. And I mean, I love the idea of DSPs, that they're everywhere. Now you reach back in the day when you were dealing physical. Is there a store in somewhere in Asia or in the Middle East or somewhere in Africa? Is there a tiny little store in that little town? But now you don't need all of that. You have your cell phone. It doesn't matter where you are on earth.
Yep.
You can actually stream and have a membership. There's too many of those, yes. But also, to me, it kind of got rid of the bootleg.
Right.
A lot of the, how should I say, the fraudulent transactions, what it was practiced in the music business. Many people were pressing vinyls and CDs, and nobody knew, without a barcode, with a barcode, all kind of barcodes, all kind of new numbers. Anybody can get a barcode.
Yep.
So then the digital age came in, which is great, but now there's new ways of fraudulent. There's obviously fake streams, and obviously there's the good and the bad. Always filter ways in and find new ways to make money in that side. But that's how life works, I guess.
Yes. There's always
Uh,
bad actors, no matter
yeah,
what you
yeah,
space and how
yeah.
what derivatives come from it. There's always going to
Correct.
be opportunity like that.
Any prediction in your end in the music industry, like how it's going to change? Like, really, as you've been in it for 10 years, you worked in advertising and marketing at a cable vision. Also, you weren't far, you were still in the entertainment business,
Right.
and you've been an artist all your life.
Yep.
So, what do you think, like, the focus will be? Yes, I mentioned that a lot of the focus I see, artist, engagement, fans to artists. But to me, it just, they try. I think this kind of path is kind of manufactured, but this is not the future yet. But yes, they need that kind of engagement,
Sure.
but still, this is not where big businesses, artists going to make money. Okay, we all know that artists now focus more on sponsorships and
Yes.
touring.
Right. Well, touring's still the biggest breadwinner because, we saw it during the pandemic. Even
Yes.
massive bands, couldn't really get out of the blocks because you're not touring. You got to
Yeah.
support a record. Which I think now why these fan engagement sites are trying to kind of not replace, but try to, where it's like, oh, you don't have to tour anymore. We can do the arts.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I don't care how much
No.
of an
No.
engagement and how
Yes.
much, interaction you can give. That's not going to replace touring. It's just not.
To me, touring needs to stay,
Right.
concerts needs to stay,
Yep.
festivals needs to stay, music festivals,
Yes.
and movie theaters needs to stay. This is how you kind of get
Experience.
out of the house, get out of the box, get out of these, your devices, whatever they are. What they're going to be, glasses in the future, or they're going to be a chip, or they're going to be a lens that you're going to put inside your eye, that you'll be pressing buttons in the air. It's fine, but you still need the human interaction. We
You do.
need that. We need the festival. We need to have fun. We need to jump around. We need to sweat. We need to scream. We need to, it's fun. And it's great that you see, it's great for the artist spirit. It's great also for the future artists, like, that they are interacting, that's being appreciated. They're being applauded to for their work, for their
Mhm.
talent, for their hard work, for their creative work. So to me, that interaction is so important and it needed, first of all, for the ego and the spirit of the artist and their creative spirit. It's like, yes, I do have fans. People do love, appreciate our great work and art and all of that. Not everything is likes and message and thumbs up. Okay, it's good. That's one side of it, but you need more. You still need that physical. What are we all about? A human being.
Yeah, the connection, the
Yes,
actual connection.
yes.
Definitely. I agree.
It lifts you up. Connection lifts people up. I mean, somebody saying, "You look great. You sound fantastic," and in a message, and somebody said, "Wow, this is amazing, man. I love or group or band. I love what you guys done. This is absolutely phenomenal. Keep it up. We love it. Yes." And everybody applauding. That worth, forget it. Beyond even. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, that's where I hope the industry starts kind of going into. I hope we kind of
Yeah.
start kind of going full circle where, we start seeing more tours, more festivals, more of the actual physical connection instead of the digital connection.
I mean, listen, technology always gonna take over certain things,
Oh,
gonna
absolutely.
change. Yeah, they're gonna change the path. You remember back in the day we used to have physical stores, buildings, warehouses,
Yep.
printing shops, I mean, there's factories used to print for all of these, the packaging, the shipping, the trucks, the delivery, warehousing. So that kind of vanished. Like, look, the chain of things that comes with physical sales. So many things were involved and it was gone, vanished. You ask a kid right now, have you heard of Tower Record? Have you heard of FYE, Sam Goody, Virgin? They'll say, what is that? What is that, Dad?
Exactly.
And so now you get the Spotify's. Do you think that will also disappear and maybe one or two will stay, like Apple maybe on Spotify? They'll be like just for the OGs who
Probably.
like just to listen.
Yep. There's got to be something because again, everything always evolves. I mean, we used to joke back in the social media days when it was just MySpace coming out, and look how
Oh
many
yeah.
social media platforms we have now. You can't even keep
Yes.
up with all of them,
Yes, true. And MySpace was a game changer when they came in, a total game changer.
especially for the music industry.
Oh, they were focused on independent bands and artists. I remember. I used to put ads looking for artists and looking for things,
Yep.
editors and all of that. Yes.
Yep.
Anything to do with the creative industry.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So
Yes. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, but again, things has to evolve. So do you think it's the beginning of an end for digital streams?
I don't think so. I don't think that will ever go away because it's just so convenient. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Especially for kids and for anybody. It's just so easy. It's just easy, accessible, and I don't think that will ever go away. I just think it's going to evolve into something else.
Evolve to something else because it's boring for kids
It's
to
always what's
just
next. It's
stream.
always what's next.
Yeah, because they're like because they want to have the experience, and TikTok was the beginning of that
Right.
experience. It's like, you are a fan, now you became a creator and you became a star
Right.
by creating your own scene, whether you did the music or just somebody else's music, and you created something that went viral.
Right.
So you created your own experience. But some of the gaming industry been one of the top experience leaders,
Yeah.
in that field,
Hmm.
obviously. Yeah.
But I mean, look at what happened with Wheatus a few months
Yeah.
back. With Teenage Dirtbag, that was a huge hit back in the day, and now it became like a TikTok trend, and they started blowing up all over again. I spoke
Hmm.
to those guys, and they were like, "This is wild." That it just overnight just blew up, and everybody cares about Teenage Dirtbag again.
So what do we have coming? Tell us what Manic Kate Records have in the box for us this year, at least for 2024 or next year. What are you guys working on as far as technology, groups?
So
Please.
big acts we've been signing, like I said, working more with legacies. Obviously, still cultivating,
Mhm,
grooming.
mhm,
But some really cool stuff happening. Like Ryan Cabrera is celebrating his 20th anniversary of that "Take It All Away" record. So we've got something special planned for that. Which will happen before the end of the year. Some great collaborations that he's done with a couple of songs,
mhm,
which will surprise a lot of people. And then, by the time this thing airs, we'll have already announced Amber Pacific, which they were on Hopeless, they were on Victory. They swore they would never sign to another label again, and
mhm.
here we are. And they're a great group of guys and such easy people to work with and absolutely fantastic. Their new single is unreal, and I'm just very lucky to be working with those guys too. So that's been a lot of fun. And the guys in Show Off, who they were signed to Madonna's label back in the day, Maverick, they've got new music out. So there's a lot
Super.
happening right now.
Well, 10 years anniversary. What is your greatest achievement that you're proud of so far since you started, Manic Kate Records?
Probably helping like the smaller bands kind of realize how business really should be and not kind
Yes.
of being, I hate to say taken advantage of, but at least a little bit more transparent. You know, Kind of picking them up and be like, okay, this is what normally happens, and this is what we do, and kind of educating them a little bit too. Like, hey, listen, this is not the norm. By far not the norm, but this is how we do business. So it's always really reassuring to me, and kind of gives me such joy when I'm talking to an up and coming band and
Mhm.
like I'm on a call with them and like the light bulb goes off. They're like, oh, wow, wait. So that's really how this is normally done. And this is what you do. And they kind of put the two and two together. It's really cool to see that because, I want to make sure people have an understanding of like what they're getting into and what normally happens in the industry. And now, not every label is going to do that, but I've been down a bad road, and I just am not trying to perpetuate a problem, basically.
I like the way you think because we both align on the same kind of train of thought and
Mhm.
vision. I would say that the industry always been in it myself for 30 years,
Right.
and I feel artists always being looked at as the cash cow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not the right way. The right way the industry should be the cash cow
Right.
because without artists, we have nothing.
Right.
We have no record labels. We have no concerts. Artists really is the main
Yep.
thing. So they should not be looked at as the cash cow.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm glad that there's people like yourself and myself and others who are standing behind artists,
Yeah.
giving them the empowerment and the power and the control they need for their destiny and the choices they need to make.
Yep. It's very collaborative. We're very
Yes.
much a team,
Yes.
and it's a very weird thing to say in the record label business, but it's very much a team. We're close with every single band we work with, and it has to be. And, I tell bands like, look, it's a music business. Not everything goes to plan, ever. In fact, 99% of the time, it goes sideways. So it's a matter of what you do to pivot. What do you do
Yes.
to rectify a situation? And it's not smoke and mirrors. It's like, all right, guys, this didn't go to plan. How do we adjust? How do we pivot? What do we do? Instead of, the traditional way, it's like, okay, well, don't tell the band, don't tell the artist, and let's kind of keep this under the umbrella and let's, cloak and dagger it. You know what I mean? And that's not what
Yes.
we do. So,
Well, any advice looking back at your journey, being an artist, working in the advertising and promotion, and
mhm.
having your own label? Manic Records for 10 years. What advice you would have for entrepreneurs who want to carve their own path in the music business and independent artists who also struggling or trying to find the best way to do things and to make the right choices?
Have a thick skin. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, it's the entertainment and music business. You have to have a thick skin. Be
Hmm.
prepared to hear no a million times, you know, before you hear a yes, and be okay with it. Be okay with it. Be able to be confident enough to be like, okay, I want to carve my own path. With us, we took the path of least resistance very few times
Hmm.
because we could have gone in bed with like a Sony or a Universal and become a subsid or whatever, and didn't even go down that road on purpose. So
Hmm.
just kind of keep plugging away, and it's not an easy road. There's a lot of bumps along the way. So resilience, tough skin, and just go for it. Because what else do you have to lose? So
Amazing. Well, you heard it here at Soundbreaker with Peter James from Manic Records, based out of New York. Peter, really thank you. It was an amazing interview. I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers at Soundbreaker will appreciate all the advice and all the, how should I say, the tips that you gave them and you
great.
shared with us. I want to say thank you for joining us today. This concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. Please make sure to follow us on socials and stay tuned for our next episodes. Thanks again. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.